Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb, and she saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and went to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one whom Jesus loved, and said to them, "They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we do not know where they have laid him." Then Peter and the other disciple set out and went toward the tomb. The two were running together, but the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. He bent down to look in and saw the linen wrappings lying there, but he did not go in. Then Simon Peter came, following him, and went into the tomb. He saw the linen wrappings lying there, and the cloth that had been on Jesus' head, not lying with the linen wrappings, but rolled up in a place by itself. Then the other disciple, who reached the tomb first, also went in, and he saw and believed. For as yet they did not understand the scripture that he must rise from the dead. Then the disciples returned to their home.
Christ is risen.
He is risen indeed.
The light shines in the darkness,
and the darkness has not overcome.
And now we hear the second part of the story.
But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb, and she saw two angels in white, sitting where the body of Jesus had been lying, one at the head and the other at the feet. They said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping?" She said to them, "They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." When she had said this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know that it was Jesus. Jesus said to her, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you looking for?" Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him, "Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned and said to him in Hebrew, "Rabboni," which means teacher. Jesus said to her, "Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." Mary Magdalene went and announced to the disciples, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her.
For just a moment, let's picture that morning 2,000 years ago. Imagine, if you can, the early morning quiet. The sound of birds just awakening. Maybe the buzzing of insects. Presently, there's the sound, the crunch of footsteps on the path, on that rocky and sandy ground. And then suddenly there's the sound of gasps and footsteps running away. And then the sounds of panting and footsteps running again, coming back. One person remains at the tomb. There's a sound of weeping. As if the events of the last 2 days were not enough to wrench her heart from her chest. Now, the final injury, the final indignation, the twist of the knife. The body is gone. The body is gone. Have you ever stood where Mary stood that morning so long ago? I mean, I don't mean in that particular garden in Jerusalem, although maybe you have. I mean in the garden of grief. In the garden of that time in your life when everything that you had hoped for, were building up, has fallen down around you. Craig Barnes says this about this place of grief and emptiness. He says, earlier this week, an old couple received a phone call from their son who lives far away. And the son said he was sorry, but he wouldn't be able to come for a visit over the holidays at all. The grandkids say hello. They assured him that they understood, but when they hung up on the phone, they didn't dare look at each other. Earlier this week, a woman was called into her supervisor's office to hear that times are hard for the company and that they had to let her go. So sorry. She cleaned out her desk, packed away her hopes for getting ahead, and wondered what she would tell the kids. Earlier this week, someone received terrible news from a physician, and someone else heard the words, "I don't love you anymore." Earlier this week, someone's hope was crucified, and the darkness is overwhelming. Barnes goes on and says, no one is ever ready to encounter Easter until he or she has spent time in the dark place where hope cannot be seen. Easter is the last thing we're expecting, and that's why it terrifies us. The day is not about bunnies, springtime, and girls in cute new dresses. It's about more hope than we can handle. That's Easter. More hope than we can handle. You know, if you've ever been there, if you're there now, in this valley of darkness, you know what Mary was going through. You know what she was feeling. You know how she longed for some sign of hope. But she was feeling, as the prophet Ezekiel says, clean cut off. You know, we need hope to survive. A number of years ago, when I was going through a divorce, a dark valley, a parishioner sent me this quote. The quote is, "Hope is that slender thread that we shoot across the abyss of despair so that we may later haul across the ropes of reality." We're not meant to swing across the chasm on glimmering strands of hope. They are there to guide us as we do the hard work of building the bridges upon which we may all walk across for generations to come. In order to step into the future, we need that slender thread of hope to be there, to let us know that a way will open up, that there is solid ground upon which to walk, that there will be companions to share the journey and the work. Mary needed that sort of hope. Can you blame her? Can you blame her for needing that sort of hope? This man, whom she was only just beginning to understand, whose teachings she was just starting to fathom, whose very life seemed to shine with such a radiance of what? It was so much like the sun gliding across the rippled lake, so like a thousand birds in chorus, so filled with an abundance of life. It was love come in the flesh. That's what it was. Jesus radiated love, and it was a love that turned everything right side up again. She needed some sign of hope that love hadn't ended. That the love that was at the center of the universe, the love that held all things together, wasn't just a shadow in the night. Some flash in the pan. Jesus was always performing signs, healing people, feeding 5,000 families at a whack with just a few loaves of bread, changing water into wine, raising Lazarus from the dead. She needed another sign. She needed a sign of hope. And then it came. There was that voice. That voice that said simply, Mary. That spoke her name. Hope didn't come as a pious platitude. Keep your chin up, Mary. God never gives you more than you can handle. All you need is faith. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. No, it didn't come on those things that we say when we don't know what to say. Hope came in physical form. In a sound born on the morning's breezes, the voice of one who spoke her name, Mary. Mary. You know, the hope that comes is usually not accompanied by a loud blaring of trumpets, regardless of how much noise we've made here so joyfully this morning. For Mary, it was a few simple words spoken in the quiet of a garden. You know, to tell the truth, the real miracle of Easter is not so much the empty tomb, as marvelous as that may be. The real miracle is that the risen one still speaks to all the emptiness of our souls. And the miracle is that we listen and we hear that voice speaking our names. The real miracle is that Jesus still comes and lives in human hearts. So this is what the Easter message is. Whatever empty tomb we're standing next to, whatever graveyard we are standing in our lives, whatever plans or dreams of ours have been shattered and crumbled into dust, there is still a voice that can come to us, that can come to you, speaking your name. It'll say Diana, Kathy, Judy, Ruth, Evie, Katie, Barbara, Evelyn, Chris, Charlotte, Harold, Jane, Susan, your names. It says your name. That voice is here this morning. There's a voice that comes to us. So let's bow our heads in a moment of prayer. And let's listen for that voice.